Hey, what's up? This is Terrell Davis, and you're listening to the Live Life on Offense podcast.
Blue 42, hut, hike.
Welcome to the Live Life on Offense podcast with Hall of Fame running back and two-time Super Bowl champion Terrell Davis and myself, Kevin Schumacher, real estate entrepreneur and CEO of the Terrell Davis Group. We dive deep into what it takes to develop the championship mentality for your business and your life. We provide you the playbook for entrepreneurs that moves the chains down the field so you can live a life that is more than just existing, but a true life on offense. Let's kick it off.
Welcome to Live Life on Offense podcast. I am Terrell Davis, in case you guys don't know who I am. I'm a former NFL football player. I had some success in the league, a couple of Super Bowls. I was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame last year, and I'll be joined by a good friend of mine, my buddy Kevin Schumacher, and we'll be talking about live life on offense and what it means to live life on offense and how that is to enjoy your day and to really have the mindset of live life on offense and really what that means and how that kind of propels people when they get started in their early day and how it really affected me as a player growing up. I ain't a player growing up, but just a person growing up and a player in the National Football League. And Kevin, let's talk about live life on offense a little bit right here and what it means to you to live life on offense.
You know, Terrell, I'm really excited to kick this podcast off and really take this deep and, you know, really as you've mentioned, the philosophy, but, not only the way of life, but, the approach to life that one takes in that mindset and, in not only their day-to-day activities, but, in their surroundings and controlling their surroundings as well.
And when you talk about live life on offense, I just want to drill down on that a little bit because, I kind of see examples of that every day. I'm sort of driving around. I'll see things happening, and I'll say to myself, "Man, that guy's living life on offense." Or I see something happening, I'm like, "Wait a minute, that was just not a thought that was a live life on offense thought." It's like everything around us is surrounded by that. And I just want to focus on the mentality part of it, right? Because that's the mindset. That is the thought, a way of thinking about things. An example would be this. It's like when the sort of the glass half full versus half empty, and knowing that when you wake up and you look at something, it's either going to be a problem or it's going to be something you find that there could be a solution for. And it's the way you think about that and how it really affects your life. Really how it affects your life. You can say, all right, man, I can look at that and I can see a piece of paper come in and it might be a note or a letter from somebody, and the tone of the letter is just not real good, and you're like, all right, it's kind of a downer to you. So, you want to kind of look at that letter in two different ways, and if you look at it, if your mind is right and you're thinking clearly, then that letter or whatever you're reading could either put you down or it could propel you and have greater thoughts about that.
Terrell, I remember you many times you mentioned you gotta go down in order to jump up, and there's people get setbacks all of the time and are approached with things where they could either make a defensive move or an offensive move, and that's many examples that you've shared with me over time of through the years of you playing. You talk about that, the mental shift, and you go left, it's the defensive mode, and right, it's the offensive mode. Can you break that down a little bit?
Yeah, it's the mindset and the mental shift is I would even take you back to a place or a time in my career where I realized that I had to make the mental shift because I wasn't thinking clearly. I was living life on defense and not living life on offense. And this was when I was at the University of Georgia, and I had about 4 games left in my career. I had torn my ACL. I was sitting on the bench, and I was at the game watching my team play. And this is halfway through the season, actually more than halfway through the season. And I'm looking at my team, and I just thought about something. I was like, man, you know what? I have 4 more games left in my career. That's it. 4 more games left in my career. And I started thinking about the things that I did up to that point and how I got there and whether I was really putting in the work to be the best player that I could be up to that point. And once I realized that I wasn't, and I asked myself the question, I said, did you do everything you could do to be the best player you could be to this point? And the answer came back, and it was no. And Kevin, when I heard that, I was, wow. Like I told myself, I was honest with myself that I didn't do what I thought I should have been doing to be the best player that I could be. And I don't know what happened, whether it was something that came from God, divine intervention, but I made a conscious decision. I made a mental shift in my mind right then. I said, man, if I'm ever able to come back on this field and play again, I am going to give this game 1,000%. I'm not backing down from nothing. I'm going to be the first one in the building, last one out. I'm going to study. I'm going to do everything I need to do to be the best player that I could be. And, it didn't do it like overnight, but the mental part of the process started. And so I started doing more and more things that led me to becoming a better player and a better person, but, lifting weights, not just doing the bare minimum when it comes to, practice. I was staying late. I was studying more. And Kevin, that really to me became sort of the moment that I realized that I had a conscious decision to change the way I looked at things and have my mentality shift. And that's the day. That day, I always say that was the day that I was born. That's when Live Life on Offense was born. And I tell you, man, it felt great to have that mentality and to take that, and it kind of propelled me to being the player that I became in the National Football League and the guy that I became today.
Well, and you mentioned something to me, gosh, a long time ago when we first met. You made the comment, "Be true to the game," and I will never forget that statement. I mean,
be true.
Yeah.
You gotta be true to the game, Cap. You gotta be true to the game. True to the game just means that you can't expect results to be more than the input. Whatever you put in, you're probably going to get out. And being true to the game is, I've seen it. I've seen players on the field who they want to be good players. They want to be great. I was one who wanted to be good, but I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being true to the team because I thought I wanted to be good, but I wasn't taking steps that would say, all right, you're going to be a good player because you're doing these things, because you are lifting weights, because you are studying harder, because you are taking the extra time out to learn and master your craft. I was not doing that. And, the bottom line is if you're not true to who you are, if you're not true to the game will not be true to you. And that's a saying my buddy Frank White always says to me growing up. That was my mentor. And he would always preach that to me. And I heard it a long time, never really thought about it. But as you get older and you get in a situation where you're not doing that, then you start to realize, man, he makes sense. And it made sense, not back then, but it made sense as I started to grow up and obviously when I was in college.
There's so many distractions in life, whether it's at home with your family, whether it's at work, whether it's just life in general. And we always look at making sure that your daily actions are in alignment with your goals. And one of the things that you talked to me about was you have this theory, I believe you call it rope, and where you talk about the pressures. And I feel even like as an entrepreneur, a business owner, but gosh, even as a father, you get these outside pressures to perform at a high level, and you have to get those coping mechanisms in place to deal with that pressure. And can you sort of dial in that whole what that means to you with your rope theory?
Yeah, the rope theory is it's like this. I didn't know that it was possible when you were successful, whether you were in sports or you were in business or whatever you do. There's a point where you'll reach and things will change on how people see you, and the way they see you is starts to affect how you basically function. And what I mean by that is, so as a player, if you're not really known and you're just a good player, but not really a great player, you can go about your day-to-day life, and most people won't expect much from you. You know, they'll kind of leave you alone. If you're a professional football player, that's different. But if you're just a player, college or something like that, you can go about being, doing your business and not really having a name known, and you can do your thing. But the minute you start to have a name for yourself, there's things that change about you, and it comes from the outside forces. Number one, people have, you start to have a sense of responsibility, and I figured that out. The second thing is that you're obligated to do certain things, and there's more pressure on you, and then there's expectations, and that is the rope theory. That's the ROPE, and I've used this analogy when I was in Denver as a player. My first year or two, I mean, Kevin, it was pretty fun. I didn't have expectations. I didn't have any pressure. I had no obligations or expectations. I was just able to do what I wanted to do as a rookie coming out of Georgia. But then year two comes around, and I had some success in year one. Year two comes around, I start to feel a little different because now I'm on, the radio shows, I'm on the sports centers, I'm on the magazine covers. I'm getting better as a player, and the public is starting to notice. And then you start realizing, wow, this thing is real. There's an effect there that's happening, that people are they're expecting things of me. And so you go through, and it's one thing. And I always say this. I say, when you have the rope theory, a rope can either trip over that rope where you feel all this pressure and you're not able to meet these expectations, or you can use this rope to go to greater heights. And it's really a choice, difficult choice, because you don't choose to have that in your life. But having this choice, you have a little bit more of an awareness about what's happening. And so then, yeah, I embraced it, man. It was something that was suffocating me initially because I didn't want it. But after I had gone through it for about 2 or 3 years, I realized that the only thing I can do is just embrace this, because this is part of success. When you have success, all these things are going to be expected of you. And if you're not, prepared for it or ready for it, it could trip you up. It really can. It can destroy a lot of careers there. And Kevin, so what about you, man? You have any examples of the rope theory with you in the industry that you're in? You're in the real estate.
And I have all these things rolling through my mind right now, and I think through as you look at that rope theory and you talk about the responsibility and the obligation and pressure. You put yourself in a CEO position, and you look at all of the people that you're accountable for. No different than our real estate company when we bring additional staff people on and administrators. We're not only taking the responsibility of them, but also their family, because they're depending on that paycheck. And so there's a level of responsibility that we need to continue to succeed. And every day it's you bring in your A game and being a leader. And if you aren't, you're going to trip on the rope. And so it's I look at live life on offense, and it's that way of life where you are a leader, and you take full responsibility. You're making sure that your actions are in alignment with your goals. And you can even layer that back into parenting and raising your kids. It's when you're in your early 20s with no children versus in your 40s. As a father, you're gonna take different steps and actions because your kids look up to you, and you're their mentor. They're gonna do what they're gonna follow your footsteps, hopefully, and you want to set good examples for them. So I look at that rope theory, and I think it can touch on many aspects of life.
And the double L, I want to call this the double LOO, the live life on offense. That's what that is. Double LOO. And let's talk about the defense. Talk about defense. I don't want to talk about defense because defense is negative. And when you live life on offense, the one thing you don't focus on or talk about a whole lot are things that are negative, right? We don't focus on those things that are negative. And we talk about that as a choice. Do you ever feel like when you your attitude, when you walk into a place and somebody has an attitude that is not in line with yours, that you just kind of adopt that, it kind of transfer that negative energy on you? You ever experience that?
Most definitely. I think the negative or the defense mode is more contagious than the offense mode.
It is,
unfortunately.
man. It is. My buddy always say well, he still says it. He says that the attitude, life is all about your attitude. He says life is 50% of what you make it and 50% of how you take it. It's all about your attitude. And he would always say this, and my buddy Frank, he says this all the time. And kind of over the years, again, he would say this stuff. I'm like, man, be quiet with that. But he's really talking about something that's really interesting because it is. It's how you handle adversity that is really a true sign of somebody living life on offense because we're going to have it. It's, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, you're going to experience unforeseen circumstances that are going to hit you when you're not ready for it. And as a player growing up, one of the things my dad was pretty good at preparing me for was dealing with things that were unexpected, negative things, and to have a positive attitude towards it. And it's amazing when you think about something that that might not be great, but you can stare at it and say, you know what? In about 10 years from now, I'm going to look back at this moment and I'm going to laugh. And that's what gets you through. But that is the mentality you have to have when you're faced and you're looking at things that are negative. But it really is, it really is all about your attitude. And so the attitude. Go ahead.
It's controlling that content between the ears. It's so many times we can put ourselves, whether it's in we can put ourselves in a bad environment or a good environment. I think there's many a times where, just the other day, towards the end of the day, and you just get a lot of things build up, and whether it be just conversations that didn't go the way you wanted them to go, and you go hit a workout, knock 5 miles out, and you're thinking clearly again because you're getting yourself in realignment of what your goals are and where you want to be.
Yeah. You got to have that. And you know me, man. Playing on in football and sports, there's all kinds of negative things that happen, and you got to be able to immediately look at it and say, you know what, it's a negative, but we can make it into a positive. If you saw Super Bowl, I think it was 50, where the Patriots were playing the Atlanta Falcons, they were down by some astronomical score. It was 28-3, early fourth quarter. And if you watch the video of the Falcon players on the sideline, they're having all this positive stuff happening, but for some reason they're not excited about it. They're a little nervous that they don't feel confident enough that they can win this game. But when you look at or you hear the audio of the Patriots sideline, those players are talking about something that's phenomenal. They're down 28-3. They're looking at glass half full, and their attitude is like, hey, guys, we're going to come back. We're down 28-3. We're going to come back. This is going to be the greatest comeback in the history of the sport. They're down 28-3 in a Super Bowl, but they're already talking about how, the attitude and how they're looking at this thing is that they're looking at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity. When there's something not going well in your life, and you look at it and you can choose to say, this is bad. It's not going to happen for me. Or you can say, you know what? This is going to be the most incredible comeback or the most incredible thing that anyone has ever seen. I'm going to turn this into something really, really positive. And they were able to do that. They came back and won that game, as you know. And, the good players, the good teams, the guys that are out there with that positive attitude, it is contagious. When you walk into a building, everybody feels like, man, we can win. We feel like we can win. No matter what happens, we can go through some adversity, but we're going to fight through this, and we're going to pull everybody together, and we're just going to win. And I've been a part of that team. I've been a part of teams like that. And, Kevin, I tell you, man, it is a powerful, it's powerful, I think, just influence to have when people feel that confident in what they can do.
Well, and you look at, you sparked a thought of, you look at, again, whether you're that salesperson that wasn't able to put that deal together, whether you are, crunch time at a college student and you didn't pull the grade that you needed to for your, to get your GPA where you want. But, so you think of the mental shift, and what that makes me think of is in your career, how many times, I'm only a couple, but those couple of times where you fumbled the ball on a critical play.
I
How
never
did
fumbled,
you have
Kevin.
that?
I never fumbled, Kevin. Don't ever say I fumbled.
That must have been number 32. It wasn't
was
number 30.
It was somebody else. It wasn't me. Trust me. I don't fumble.
But how do you have that quick mental shift?
Well, it's conditioned. It's conditioned because what you know is that games they're not gonna be perfect. You don't ever play a perfect game. It's never a perfect environment. Nothing's ever perfect. It's part of the game, number one. But number two, you just know that, man, you got to turn the page quick. You can't sit there and dwell on something that happened in the past. And when you live life on offense, it's not about looking backwards. It's about looking forward. It's about looking at things that are going to not consume your time in a way that is not productive, but that is. And I can't do anything about a fumble. Once it happens, it's done. And in football, and you can apply this to business as well. But the most important play, you know what the most important play is, Kevin?
No.
You don't know the most important play? The most important play is the next play. That's the most important play in football. It's not the one that happened before. It's not the one that happened in the first quarter. It's the next play. It's the one that you can control, the one that you can do something about. I can't do anything about a fumble that happened. And matter of fact, in Super Bowl 32, I came out from halftime. I think we were tied at the time, or maybe we were up by a field goal or something like that. And I get the ball in the first series, and I fumble the ball the first time I get the rock. And believe me, this is a big game. It's a Super Bowl. I felt horrible, and I was like, "Oh man, I hope that this doesn't put our team in a bad spot, or this is not the play that kind of, it kind of sums up the game." But then I realized I was like, "Dude, we still have 2 quarters to go. And I can't worry about that fumble right now. I can do something about the next play. I can't do anything about that one that just happened." And that is a good mental model for people just to think about in their lives is when you're thinking about things, think about what you can control. Think about the next step, not something that happened a day ago, a week ago. You learn from those things, but you can't control or affect whatever whatever has already happened. And that's how I was able to deal with that, man. Just kind of be in a moment and just worry about the things that I can control. And fortunately for me, I was able to help our team win that Super Bowl.
Well, and it just all leads into goes back to it's the approach to life. It's the way when you wake up, when your feet hit the ground. It's the way you approach your day. It's the way you approach your week, and it's the way of life.
It is a way of life, and we're going to talk more about live life on offense. And one of the things they say, well, what does that mean, Kevin? Well, to me, we talked about it, and it means a lot. It really is a way of life. It's how you think about things, it's how you process things. It is a philosophy. It's a core value. It's moving forward. It's swag. It's confidence. The next thing I want to talk about really is just kind of things that that's part of it is really the swag. Your confidence level that you have to have when you are living life on offense. I see a lot of people who are very good at what they do, but what they lack and what they need help with is figuring out how to display their confidence. They don't have that. They don't wear it on their sleeves. And I was like that as a teenage kid. I wasn't outwardly confident in what I could do. I could do it on the field, but I learned that you gotta fake it until you make it. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in yourself, and you gotta make people believe in you the way you believe in yourself. And the only way you can do that is, sometimes you have a person who leaves. They go from one high school to the next high school, and then this high school they're known as this shy kid, kind of by himself, not very outgoing, wasn't part of a whole lot of social circles. But then he goes to another high school, and he just transforms to a different kid. It's like, wow, is that the same guy that was at Lincoln High School? Now he's at Morris. How is he like that? Because you gotta sometimes you gotta put on an act. You gotta fake. You gotta fake because the people who know you're not outgoing or outspoken, but the people who don't know you, they don't know. They think this guy got swag and that he is, just as confident as can be. And that's part of live life on offense. And I realized that's one thing I had to do. is I had to display my confidence outside, and faked it until I had to make it. And I'm not sure if you had to do that, Kev.
No, I mean, it was a grind, but what I found is that you have to have the support system. You have to have the support system around you to feed that positive energy, and those mentors. Like you, to have those right people around in your circle. That's gonna bring you up, and is gonna continue to help you, and stay on the offense and not go back down the trail of the defense as well. And would you say that through your career, you talked about the pivot in Atlanta when you were playing for the Bulldogs in college? You talked about that, and then you were able to get drafted with the Broncos. Would you say that the people you surrounded yourself with helped contribute to you to be the person you are today, and live the way that you do, living life on offense?
Man, it's teamwork. It is teamwork. No, whether you're on a sports team or not, we all have a team. We all have a team. And I had a team growing up, and everything that I've done, I can't think of anything that I've done by myself. When I just growing up, my coaches, my teachers, my parents, my brothers, friends, they all became very, I guess, very instrumental in my success and being there to be all the pillars that I needed. I needed I need somebody, the confidant. I needed somebody who can, be my friend, my confidant. My mom were people that were kind of, somebody keep you grounded. You need all these different things. Somebody somebody to encourage you when you're not feeling like you can do it. Somebody to push you, like your coaches. So you got to have all these different pillars in your life, and I've had those, and even to this day, you've got to have. I've had those. I've had friends, and in the business world, there's friends and teammates, and teammates are important, man. They're just part of the fabric and how successful you are. I don't know, Kev. You know anybody that's been successful who's done it by themselves, who said, "Hey, it's all me, and I have nobody else to support me. Nobody else should take credit for this."
No. And those that pretend to climb the ladder on their own fall faster. So it's having the rocks and the support, and growing together, and building that support system.
Yeah, and that's even just surrounding yourself with other successful people. You might not think they might not be on your internal team, but they're on your team. You're on your team in life, and when you do that, you learn from them, and you're able to pick up some good habits, or just things that you just pick up and like, hey, I like what they're doing. I'm just going to follow that because that just seems to be something that allows us to continue to be successful. But it's a lot that we got going with Live Life on Offense, and one of the other things that I feel Live Life on Offense kind of that it really embodies is taking chances. And I don't mean just taking chances in terms of just being reckless with what you do or taking risk, but you got to take chances, and taking chances are important. I'm not here talking on this podcast if I didn't take chances. Took some chances. I go back to one particular incident that happened at Georgia, where it was after that time I was looking at our team. I guess I only had 4 more games to play. I was in the stands watching our team, and I kind of had that moment of clarity where I was like, the mental shift. And when I got back to practice that next week, the one thing I remember doing was, man, I couldn't be the same player because I would run the ball, and if the hole wasn't there, then I would just continue to run through the same hole that wasn't there and try to just muscle myself forward for 1 or 2 yards. And that's what I was doing prior. I was being conservative. I was just not taking any chances. I was like, all right, the hole's not there. I'm just going to run through the hole, and that's it. And felt good about it. And coach says, well, what are you doing? Well, coach, I ran to the hole. It wasn't there. So I just plowed into the guy's back and tried to pick up some yards. But when I got back, I said, I need to take some chances. So if the hole wasn't there, for example, if you don't watch football, if you have there's 6 gaps on the line of scrimmage, and let's say that the play was meant to go right, and they were giving me a tall sweep going right. Well, if the play wasn't going anywhere on the right side, I would pivot, reverse field, and go all the way back to the left side and pick up 10 yards or something like that. And I was doing this in practice, and I just kept doing it. And I know initially my coaches didn't like that because no coaches really want you to take chances unless the results are going to be there. And in practice, I was doing it, and I didn't care what the coaches said at that point. I didn't care because I was already in my mindset. I got 4 more games. Yeah, I'm all in. I got 4 more games in my career, man. I got to do whatever I need to do to be the best player that I can be, and really and I guess during that time, I wanted to make sure that I wanted to really see what my own potential was because I wasn't living up to my own potential, and I had to see it for myself. I would have felt great had I walked out of there and I'd seen my potential, even if I didn't go to the pros. That's what I said. I said I have to leave here and have no regrets and just feel like if I ask myself the question, did you give the game all you had the last 4 games? The answer would be yes, as opposed to no. And that's what I was going for. And so when I started taking chances, Kevin, it was amazing what happened. Ended up getting my starting job back. The coaches noticed what I was doing. They came to me and said, man, we love what you're doing, and we're going to make you our starting running back. And so it started to pay off because I was taking chances. And since that day, that's kind of been part of the motto, and that is live life on offense. You're taking chances. You're not being conservative. You're not playing it safe. You're not playing, the status quo. You got to take some chances to see what could happen. To see if you can, if you can stretch your potential or fulfill your potential. You don't know what it is. Potential is just that. It's just potential unless you feel it and at least see if there's anything there. And I was able to do that by taking those chances and started taking chances in the pros too. And sometimes they don't work out, but more times than not they do. And it was just a great time for me to take those chances. Did you take any chances?
It's you talk about I think through life everyone's taking chances. There's always risks, and there's some chances I took where the outcome was marginal, and there's other chances I took that worked really, really well. And I remember remember one time my brother told me, he said, "You're just lucky," and I said the definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity.
That's right. That's right.
You look at I think I don't know, probably more today than any other time is, so many people are instant gratification. They want it now. They want everything now. And they don't have, their attention span is short. And you look at the thousands of hours, and I can't even imagine how many of hours of conditioning you spent in your career and as well as your teammates and all of the great athletes through the NFL and all the other sports. You look at the thousands of hours of conditioning, and then you look at the small number of people that hit the level of success that you've experienced. And then you look at if a person today could truly look and say that they gave it 110% of their effort, if they give it 110% of their effort in what the outcome was. But so many people give it a marginal effort and don't get that outcome. When you live life on offense, you're giving it 110% effort. You're making sure that you are truly prepared because there will be an opportunity, and you will hit it. You will score.
There's no question about that. That's no question about that. I do something, and you can't see it here, obviously, but when I talk to some of the young men or women, it's really about increasing your percentages, right? It's about increasing your odds. I can't promise anybody that if they do everything, if they work hard, if they go do whatever it is they're doing, we can't promise results. Meaning, I can't say that you will be successful in whatever you want to do. But what I can promise is that if you do all those things, your chances increase. And I have never met anybody who didn't do all those things that wasn't successful. So it just goes to show you that it's all about percentages. And if you can just like mentally think about this, you know how the lottery balls, they have the little, the NBA, they have the little basket, or the lotto
Right.
balls. You got this thing, you throw all these lottery balls into this little basket or whatever it is, the little thing, and it has the balls that spin around. Well, think about life as that, and you have all these baskets, and let's say one basket is, you're going to be successful as whatever, an attorney. One basket says that you're going to be a professional football player. One basket says you're going to be a professional baseball player. The other one says you're going to be a realtor. Whatever it is, you have all these different baskets with names on them. Everything you do from the time you're a kid, every move you make, right? You graduate from high school, um, those baskets get filled up with a bunch of balls, right? So let's say there's 10 baskets. Well, if you graduate from high school, 50 balls goes into each basket. Now, the basket it doesn't go in is the one that says prison. There's no balls going into that basket. So, and once you go to college, then okay, more balls goes into the basket that says, you're going to be successful. It's going to say, CEO of a corporation. So now you got more balls going into that basket. At the end of the day, and to make it short, at the end of the day, you have all these baskets, and how many balls do you have in these baskets really determines your success rate. And it's trying to increase your odds of putting more balls in the baskets that have the names of the things that you want to do. And those actions are going to give you more balls to place in those baskets. So when it's time to draw that one ball out of that basket in your life, if you've got more balls in that basket, chances are, your chances increase to pull out your ball out of that basket versus somebody else's name. So that's the way I look at it. I look at working hard. I look at preparation. I look at all those things you have to do to get to the point where you have to get to. When I was playing, there was no guarantee that I was going to be a good player. None. Because outcomes you can't control. You can't control the results. You can control your effort. You can't control the outcome. So just trying to put yourself in that position to where when it's time for whatever it is, that you have the best chance to be successful. And that's all anybody can ask for is to increase their odds of success by putting in the work you talked about doing, Kev.
Well, and it's just conditioning yourself, not only physically but mentally conditioning yourself for success. And obviously, the more conditioning you do, the higher the likelihood for success.
Absolutely, and it goes to So you heard the old saying right there. It says no one plans to fail. No one fails to plan. They plan to fail. Or wait, what is it? No one fails to plan. No one plans to fail. They fail to plan. There you go.
Right.
No one. Yeah, that's what they say. No one plans to fail. They fail to plan. Is also something that we can talk about because it's really not it really is about planning. You got to have some strategy, some game plan, something where you have to do. You got to have a focus, and then you got to make those things. My coach was very good. We talked about my coach Bobby Turner, very good. He was more of a philosopher than he was a coach, and he taught us the 4 A's. And the 4 A's were your alignment, your assignment, the action, and the adjustment. And it's kind of a pillar of things that I always look at, no matter what it is, whether it's sports or business. You got to look at the 4 A's. And the first A is the alignment. And it's like who you're aligning yourself up with, right? As a player, where's your position in the back, wherever you are, as a wide receiver, as a running back, as an offensive lineman, as a quarterback. When we break the huddle, the alignment is the most important thing to the integrity of the play. Whether it's handoffs, whether it's passing plays, whether it's the relationship between the wide receiver and the quarterback, all these things are important. Well, you're in business, it's the same thing. Aligning yourself up, whether it's your location, whether it's you aligning yourself up with successful people, what city you're in, what industry you're in, all these things affect the alignment, and which is the most important part of the 4 A's. It's how you're aligning yourself up with people or or location or whatever it is you're doing. The second part of that is the alignment, the assignment. What is your assignment? What is that? That's the goal part of it. That's the goal. When you have your assignment, we all have our marching orders. What do we have to do? We got to go get that. So as players, all right, we have an assignment. What is it? First down. What's our assignment? Well, this play might be designed to get 5 yards. This play might be designed to get 10 yards. This play might be designed to score a touchdown. We got to know what our mission is before that play is snapped. When you're in business, what's your assignment? What do you want to do? We want to sell X amount of product. We want to capture this market share. We want to do this. We want to, establish ourselves in the community. Whatever it is, you got to establish what your alignment is, and it has to be specific to what you're doing. The third thing is the action. The action is the go time. You can do all the planning, you can do all the missions, you can say all the targets, what we want to do, how we want to focus on it, and how we want to get there. But then the third thing is the action, and that's the part where they all are important, but I think this one is kind of the most important one is the action. We talked about it earlier, Kevin, that people, you might have an idea about a goal that you want to set, that you want to accomplish, but there's no action behind it. The action has to match up with the assignment, or whatever the goal is. And if they're not matched up, then you're definitely not gonna be successful doing that. And the last thing is making the adjustment. The adjustment is important because you can't be rigid in how you go about doing your stuff. If you're a company or whatever it is, and now things are changing and you're rigid to change and you're not used to it and you don't like that change, you got to make that adjustment. We've seen companies that haven't made the adjustment and they're struggling. Toys R Us didn't make the adjustment; they went out of business. Companies like Kmart and Macy's are dropping stores, and all of this is they didn't make the adjustment. They stayed to who they were. They were kind of status quo, and you got somebody coming there like Amazon, and they're knocking everybody out. So you got to make an adjustment. In sports, as a running back, we have to make adjustments all the time. I had to make adjustments. The play might be designed to go A gap, left A gap, but if there was nothing there, I had to make the adjustment. The offensive line had to make the adjustment on the block. Receivers have to make adjustments. Quarterbacks, it's all about adjusting in the National Football League, and the game plans have to adjust. If you at halftime, you come out, you're down by 20 points, you got to make an adjustment. You got to constantly make adjustments and things that you have to do. And all these things are just ways and things on how you live life on offense.
And that's just amazing stuff, TD. It's just what's amazing is how many things that you experienced and lessons learned through your career, through college and through the NFL. And I'm just really excited I'm really excited about this podcast. I'm really excited to continue to break down on how to live life on offense. And, like we talked about, really excited to have the opportunity to additionally bring guests on periodically to the show and talk through how they're living life on offense. And obviously you've surrounded yourself with a lot of successful people, and there's, whether it's an entrepreneur or an athlete or whoever, everyone experiences living life on offense differently, but it is a way of life and an approach to life.
It is a movement. We're making this is a movement. It is. It's a philosophy. It is, and I'm excited about it too, Kevin. I can't wait to have the guests come on because I'm always looking at other people's stories and their lives, and it's always fascinating to see how they get to where they are and try to take some of the common denominators out from what they've accomplished and see how that how that relates to my story. And I do find often that there are a lot of similarities in how people have gotten to where they are. And, sports is really just a kind of, it's I don't know, the microcosm, but it really is the similarities from sports and all the things that I've taken from sports that I've applied to business. It really is. It's kind of the same things, man. That success, and I've said it before, that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, no matter who you are, what you do. I find that there's so many things that are the relative in both industries or all industries, and some of the core things that you focus on to build companies or to build teams are all about the same. All about the same, and I'm excited about that. Can't wait to get our first guest on and go forward, man. So I said double LOO. You know what that is?
Live life on offense. It's the movement.
It's the movement. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe and review everywhere you listen to podcasts. You think this will make a difference in someone else's life? Make sure you share it with them. Check out all the other episodes and other valuable resources at livelifeonoffense.com. See you next time.